Don Lemon. President-elect meets with the heads of Facebook, Apple, Amazon, and more today. You know who else was in the room? Donald Jr., Ivanka, and Eric Trump. We're learning today that the White House office for the First Lady will become the office of the First Family under Donald Trump. So, just how involved will the Trump children be? Is this Camelot 2.0? I'll ask Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Meanwhile, the president-elect tells the tech titans this today.
We have no formal chain of command around here.
No formal chain of command. What will that mean once Donald Trump takes the oath of office in just 37 days? Let's get right to CNN's Phil Mattingly. Phil is live for us outside of Trump Tower, where he will be stationed for a while now and has been. Phil, good evening to you. Titans of Tech, we're at Trump Tower today. What else can you tell us?
Well, what's interesting, Don, is these aren't natural allies. If you look over the course of the last 15 months on a number of different policy issues, the tech community and the Trump campaign split rather sharply. And frankly, on the support itself, they also did. If you look at some of the individuals who were in the room, Tim Cook, Sheryl Sandberg, Eric Schmidt, all of these individuals not just were opposed to Donald Trump, they supported and in many cases raised money for Hillary Clinton. But today, they're willing to try and put that aside. And you talk to sources on both sides, Don, and they said, look, there's a recognition that both sides need one another. It's a relationship they have to have over the course of the next 4 years. This was the first step of this process. There are going to be disagreements, and there certainly are on issues like immigration, some issues on taxes. But this was the start of a dialogue that will move forward. I'm told this will happen quarterly from here on out, Don.
Hey, Phil, so there is a lot of discussion about the role of Donald Trump's children in this meeting. What can you tell us about that?
Well, I think the interesting aspect is this. Look, Jared Kushner was in the meeting. Ivanka Trump was in the meeting. That's somewhat expected. They are going to move back and away from their businesses, from the Trump organization, move down to D.C. and have a role there. The big question marks were that Eric Trump and Don Jr. were also in this meeting. These are the individuals that the president-elect himself tweeted earlier this week would be responsible for running the Trump organization. It's not just in this meeting with tech titans. It is also Eric Trump was involved in the vetting of the Secretary of State process. Don Jr. was involved in the vetting of the Interior Secretary process. If these two individuals are going to be running the Trump organization, ethics experts from both sides of the aisle, Don, say there needs to be some kind of wall between the business and the policy. What we're seeing right now is that wall simply doesn't exist, Don.
And also, it should be of note that Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey wasn't in this meeting today. Any reason for that, given Trump's obsession with Twitter?
Yeah, a politician who has used it like nobody we've seen and really succeeded in large part because of it. Look, there is a public explanation and then there's the behind-the-scenes story. Publicly, we're told there simply weren't enough seats at that large oak table we were staring at. Behind the scenes, this is actually a feud that goes back a couple of months. It starts with Trump's digital team. They had an agreement with Twitter for a $5 million digital operation that included custom emojis. Emojis that were rejected by Twitter and, at least according to Trump officials, rejected explicitly by Jack Dorsey. Now, because of that, that is one of the reasons I'm told he was not invited today. But with Trump officials, at least one source said they're not willing to pull some punches here. They said part of the reason they weren't invited, Twitter wasn't big enough. Don, Twitter is a $14 billion company. So maybe a little jab there, if you will.
Oh, well. I won't even go there. But I've got some new information that I want to ask you about. Late tonight, Phil, we learned that a judge has ordered President-elect Trump to sit for a 7-hour deposition in early January. Why is that?
Well, what's interesting here is this was already arranged, and the president-elect's lawyers, his personal lawyers, agreed to this deposition. What has changed is those same lawyers requested, in the wake of his election, that he actually either not have to sit down at all or at least reduce the timetable, reduce the scope of the questions. What happened tonight is a judge rejected that request. So the president-elect, just a few days, weeks before he's supposed to be inaugurated, sworn into office, will be sitting down subject to lawyers' questions. And I can tell you, Don, in covering the president-elect throughout the course of this campaign, depositions, of which there are thousands of pages over the course of Donald Trump's career, have some of the most insightful views and looks into him personally, how he operates business-wise. So you know people will be taking a very close look at that deposition. Where does this all come from? The Trump Hotel in Washington, D.C. Because of his comments at the start of his campaign, celebrity chef Jose Andres, who is contracted to have a restaurant in that hotel, pulled out. Trump sued. They've been going back and forth ever since, and because of that, he'll be sitting down for 7 hours sworn testimony.
Wow,
Don?
this should be testament why his business interests are so important in keeping conflict of interest apart. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Phil Mattingly.